Welcome to Gold Derby's Meet the Experts costume design panel. Today we're joined by Emmy nominees Kasia Waliska Maimone from the Gilded Age, Consolata Boyle from The Regime, and Christina Flannery from the Righteous Gemstones. Thank you all for being here. I feel like costume designers, you guys always have to be mindful of budget, or maybe you just don't have the biggest budget to begin with. But what is one time where you found something super expensive and you were like, okay, we just need to splurge on this piece? Kasia, let's start with you.
It's always an interesting balance. We are for sure on Gilded Age. We are very well supported by HBO, and have a very respectful budget, but it is a giant strategy of what ends up going on camera. So we definitely had to learn within the first few seasons, what is it that we see on camera, what is it that we don't see on camera, how to strategize the planning of what, do we see enough of period shoes that are crazy expensive, or how do we use jewelry? It's always like a strategy that whatever ends up in front of the camera, whatever is coming into focus, that's when we splurge. That's where the money gets spent. And I think that I don't have hesitation to spend money on the main characters, but I'm also very careful how I spend money on characters that are in the second or third dimension of the frame. So I think that logic is so deeply coded into the body that I don't think we break those rules too often, that you really strategize it where the money needs to be seen on the camera.
What was your biggest splurge this season?
The third season or second season?
Or second season?
I think we spent a lot of money on Bertha for sure. That's a continuous money, but that's what the character calls for. So I think that that's pretty consistent with her character.
She deserves it for her rise. Consolata, how about you?
I think that, again, I agree completely with what has been said, in that you need to be so careful where you position your investment in things, so to make sure that you get value and it is part of everything. It makes sense, but it's also seen on camera and it makes sense for the character. I'm inclined to spend quite a lot on fabric. I love fabric. I always have. So that is vitally important to what I do. So searching for fabric, searching for unique fabric, for embellished fabric, or to get plain fabric embellished. So a lot of the money went on surface detail, on the surface detail of particular costumes, and that would be where I would invest a lot of thought and money, and again, if it makes sense for the character and for the story. And that's where I would strategically, to use that word again, position money so that it makes sense and it moves the story along, and it expresses some element about the character of the person wearing it. I think that's absolutely vital. But knowing where, and that can be gained just by experience, I think, is knowing where everything is going to be seen, how it's going to be lit, how it tells the story of a character, and but being very, very strategic about how you do that, and that you gain that by doing it and by making mistakes and by having correct decisions and knowing instinctively when this needs to happen now. I need to put this in this position or on that character. So I do that quite a lot. I do, and I think we all do in many ways.
Yeah, do you want to position yourself to get the most bang for your buck?
Yeah.
Christina, how about you?
I totally agree with them. If you've ever kind of come from the bottom and you've been a supervisor, you totally understand like what it's like to have people breathing down your neck. So you want to support your team and stuff like that. And I agree, it's what you see on camera. And I would say for me, it was the Bob Mackie dress.
Yeah, easily. Well, on the other end, what's been your best find for, I guess, the cheapest price? Maybe like a thrift store or like online on like Etsy or something. Like this thing is great and so affordable.
We do find there's sometimes incredible cheats, and that's I would agree with Consolata. It's the fabric obsession for the Gilded Age, is that we share the same obsession. It's like, how do you find fabrics that represent the richness, that represent the history, that represent that layers of fabrication that does not exist anymore. So we're always looking for creative cheats, whether we need to implement embroidery or printing to enhance the fabric. But from time to time, you do find something incredible for shockingly cheap price. And that always is like a crazy gem that we encounter. And I always try to have this very, very sober eye for viewing those fabrics, that you don't attach price tag with what you're looking at, that from time to time you find something for $30 that is shockingly appropriate and great. And the same thing goes for jewelry finds. Like, we create a lot of jewelry, we make a lot of jewelry, but at the same time, our shopper continuously looks for finds on eBay or antique stores. And from time to time, there is a gem showing up that comes from that hunting, that is quite surprising and beautiful, and ends up on a principle, and it looks like $1 million.
Christina, how about you?
That's a good question. I mean, I think a lot of the times, when you're doing something really fun and exciting, you can get product placement, which is another way to get, really amazing items that, people want to, especially when what I've done before is like found people that are like small indie designers on different shows that I've worked with, that are kind of, you want to help elevate the look of, their stuff and your look. So specifically, I would say it would be like, working with indie designers and kind of like getting their stuff like out there for everybody to see. It's been a while since I've been on the show, but I will say we are in Charleston and the pickings are very slim. So thrifting is not necessarily something we have access to. A lot of the stuff that we have to get is online. So, we're getting a lot of things on Etsy and stuff like that as well. So yeah, it's a lot of finding really amazing pieces. I agree, like dupes and things like that are so exciting to find for, tennis shoes that you don't see on camera that are crazy fashionable, ridiculous and tacky, suits that are elaborate and fun over the top that are like, $200-300. Those are the great finds that are really exciting, that you just have a really good tailor that can kind of make it look amazing, and bada bing, bada boom, you're done.
Sure. Consolata?
One particular costume that I really enjoyed doing, and was exactly what you say. It was, we used very, very simple, basic fabric. One of Elena's outfits was made from denim, really basic, utterly simple cotton denim. But then on top of that, there was a lot of embellishment, a lot of embroidery, a lot of lifting it right out of the ordinary into something completely extraordinary. And between the lighting, Alban's lighting, and the way it was in the set, just the whole thing came together just so absolutely beautifully. And it's a great example of collaboration, of how the skill and the joy of collaboration with the costume, what was done to a very, very simple, basic fabric, the lighting, the set that Elena walked into wearing that costume, all of it worked absolutely together. And it was a very cheap start with physical work done, hand embroidery, and embellishment. And then the whole thing hopefully sang together. And that is the greatest, I think the greatest achievement of filmmaking, is that complete and total collaboration, where one head of department and one department is completely reliant on the other. And that was a total example of that for me, was how that at its very best could work well. So starting from something utterly simple and elevating it into something hopefully extraordinary, and that told a story and that added to whatever was going on and to the character. So I think that's what we aim for all the time. And sometimes we're lucky that it works and it all comes together when everybody is singing off the same hymn sheet. And that's what we try to do always.
Yeah. I mean, so much talk about fabric. I gotta ask, like, do you each have a favorite fabric to work with?
I think it really is. It's based on the character and what you're trying to do and emulate. It's really hard to say one, because like you're saying with the denim, like you can find denim and it's incredible and it really works for that character. And then, you know, if you organza, anything you could find, it really just depends on what you're trying to, you know, what you're trying to create. And again, with lighting and camera and all that, you can have something that, you know, doesn't necessarily look as beautiful and lush, but when you see it in the interior of a set with like amazing lighting, it's like, whoo, fabric is incredible. But yeah, it just depends.
I would say that we are lucky that there's still so many fabric suppliers. As we seeing those worlds of fabric suppliers shrinking, there's still enough for us to find what we need. My fear always is that the supplies will disappear. We know a lot of factories, a lot of mills are shutting down. A lot of the European mills are moved to Asia, and we're seeing a very different shift of the quality of laces, a very different shift of quality of embroidery. And I always have this fear. There was like, what's going to happen when there is just so much less? But it seems that it's right now between the European fabrics and American fabrics and stuff that comes from England is we still have hundreds of options that are incredibly valuable choices for creating this variety of characters that we need to create. Our walls of swatches are so fun in our design studio in Brooklyn, because it's literally thousands of swatches that we developed over the last 3 seasons. And it's this library, this elaborate library of fabrics. And it's pure joy to see that we do have this playground still, incredible playground to draw from.
I want to come over there. That sounds great. Can I come visit you?
Just putting dress up at the
Because
Gilded
it's
Age.
really a trip. Like we are so proud that the design team and our team. It's like we're so proud of that space, and we have the most incredible space with giant windows. It's a dream studio.
Oof, sounds amazing.
Oh,
Consolata, how about you? Anything besides denim?
I think that I couldn't agree more than everybody is saying. It's also, I would fear, as well as for the shift of or the changes in fabric production and the reduction of traditional fabric production. There's also, we need to be aware of the lessening of traditional skills, the skills of embroidery, of handwork, of hand sewing, of all of these incredibly precious traditional skills, that they need to be protected, and they are machines are driving that out. So this movement now, which is starting to protect traditional skills and people becoming interested again in traditional skills and handwork and all of that kind of area that was forgotten about for so long, those are skills that in our business we need absolutely and need to protect, along with the factories that produce wonderful fabric and the mills that produce fantastic fabric. It's the skills that go into all of this and are the bedrock of all of this that need to be protected, and or else we will lose our brilliant source material of that feed our imaginations. So I think that needs to be noted and to be taken care of, and to be people to be aware, particularly in our world, which is so fast moving and so sometimes so brutal, that we need to take care of these traditional, more gentle skills, because once they're gone, they will be gone forever. And
Yeah,
it's something
it's
that we need to be so aware of.
Yeah, it's like lifting the new generation of
Exactly.
Well, finally, nowadays, fans might dress up as characters you've designed for, do their own versions of your costumes that you've created. So have you ever dressed up as a character yourself when you were younger, perhaps?
I can so personally say no. I'm fascinated by all of this. I'm fascinated as like a total and utter enthusiastic observer, that sometimes I feel that if you step across that magic line, somehow you lose some sort of power. So I always feel you need to stay on the 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 magical observer, be the total observer and the creator, but never step across the magic
No, no
golden
Halloween
line.
costume for you.
Oh.
I've never dressed as character, but I must say that I have endless joy from hearing about costumes that make each year the Halloween night the costumes from Moonrise Kingdom, and I was not aware the first year that it was such a hit for Halloween, and I thought it was just so fun that that's where it was represented. So there's definitely I think that anything that what we do is when it starts resonating with the public, it feels like such an extra bonus, and it feels like such a joy when you see that people, however they reinterpret those costumes, because sometimes you just see this like enormous variation of reinterpretation. Is just still so fun to see that. It's
Yeah, and it's also like the longevity of it, right? Because the movie is like 12 years old now too, so it's like people are still into it. Yeah. Christina, how about you?
I mean, of course, I am obsessed with costumes. Costumes, anything, like Cersei Lannister, let's go. I've been anything you could possibly think of. I lived for a really long time in New Orleans, so it wasn't just Halloween. It was, it was Mardi Gras. It was, is it Tuesday? Is it Wednesday? We're dressing up. Like, I am so obsessed and have been ever since I was little. My mom used to make my clothes, and I was weirdly Mennonite, so I wore bonnets and dresses and stuff. So it's always been in my world to dress up. So yeah, I am absolutely obsessed with dressing up for Halloween. I think it's such an amazing experience. I was so lucky last year to be driving by on Halloween, and I just saw this really weird like shell looking thing, and I was like, is that a turtle or is that baby Billy's oyster costume? And I jumped out of the car, and it was head to toe his costume, and it was just to see that. It was honestly, I think I started crying. My mind was blown. It was, in front of a gay bar, and it was like amazing. It was like it was incredible. So yes, I absolutely dress up. I would love to dress up as the Gilded Age. I love the costumes. I love all of it.
You gotta go to Brooklyn before October.
Yeah, I'm on my way to Brooklyn. I will be there. I'll be there for my fitting. So yeah, I totally do, and I will continue to do that until the day I die. Bury me in a costume.
So we know you'll be Bertha for Halloween then. That's great.
Yes, I love that.
Well, we have to wrap, but it was great speaking with all of you. Thank you so much for your time, and congratulations again on your shows and nominations.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good one. Bye.